We're back. Happy Monday, live. Let me put the flamingo. Yup, there's the flamingos. We're live from the flamingo room. Final show before we head back up north to the New York home, New York studio.
If you get out,
Yeah, actually, shout
you
out
will get
this
out.
guy right here. Where is it? Emberworks. If you're in Rochester, New York, bathrooms, kitchens, they do all that. Actually, went to my house this morning, saved the day. My guy Ken plowed us out because we're getting snow, rain, wind, snow, rain. It's been brutal.
I'm
And we
back in
got a
Idaho, and I don't. It has snowed. It has been snowing more than it has not been snowing. It doesn't stop snowing very rarely, and it's glorious. I love it.
I love the snow. I also obviously love the sun, so we're down in Florida. But we got a house sitter staying at the house with the dogs. We got people coming and going, and trying to deal with getting the. It's a 400-foot driveway, so trying to deal with the BS of getting it plowed and shoveled, and watching Amazon trucks getting stuck because you're not there. It's a headache, but I do love the snow. I actually don't. I don't like missing the snowstorm. I wish I was actually home. I don't like being home for just like the gloom and the cold, but I like the
Yeah,
snow.
that's my thing. That's my thing. If it's gonna be cold, if it's gonna be cold, have snow. There's no.
Correct.
It's if it's gonna be cold and gray and gloomy and bleak, that's sucks. If it's gonna be cold, I want it white. You should
Correct.
see it here. Gorgeous.
Give me 3 feet of snow. I don't
Same,
want
same.
just like gloom and like nothing on the ground, gray skies. If it's gonna be cold, give me 3 feet of snow.
And you know what I always say? Like, to me, the seasons are kind of a feng shui. You
Hmm.
the reason you might uh reorganize your living room or redecorate is to brighten things up, to change stuff up, to get you excited again. Like when I lived in Texas, it was warm all the time, right? But it was warm all the time. There was no seasons. It looked the same 12 months out of the year.
Yep.
And it gets a little boring. So give me the
Th-
snow.
that's that's one
Give me the
reason
season.
why a lot of my family's been moving down to Florida. I think my brothers want to move down here, and I love it. We spend a lot of time down here, but I love the four seasons. There's nothing like football in the Northeast in the fall. There's nothing like some of these things that's just like, yeah, I'm with you. The change in the seasons, I need that.
It refreshes you. Refreshes you. So a very, very fun weekend. And, I did a couple things last week. I did the seeds for the Big Ten, and then somebody asked for the Big 12, so I did that, which is no small task, man. I went through everybody to get their season record, their conference record, and not only their conference record, but you have to weed out. You have to know who the starters are, right? Because
Yeah.
if Tyler Kasich wrestles somebody that was using one of their 5 dates, that don't count, right? It's
Mhm.
it's versus the field, and I did that for both Big 10 and Big 12, and it's pretty time consuming. Um, but what it really set up this weekend and the big matches that were left for. So I started looking at almost everything through the lens of how it affects the seeding for the conference tournament, and it was kind of really fun. I also put up a article. Just remember, like a show or two ago, somebody asked us,
Buchanan,
yeah, this guy wasn't on a big board or something, and
goat
so
follower.
yeah, so I started going down this rabbit hole of who were the best, and it's something I always wanted to do, but I knew it was going to be time consuming. But I did it, and I picked out. I went through every in the last 10 NCAA championships, every guy that AA'd that wasn't on a big board, and it came up to like around 112 times an All American was not a big boarder, but there was a lot of duplicates in there. So it's somewhere around 95 ish um, individuals AA'd without being on a big board, and then I just ranked the top 10 who I thought were the top 10. But it's a pretty interesting article, and people
Now
seem
is
to
the
like
time of
it.
year you have to subscribe to Willie more than ever on Rockfin, rockfin.com/Matt Scouts. The number of articles and rankings that you crank out, like for the minimal cost of Rockfin, like in all the data you get. It's the same thing why I buy Jason Bryant's NCAA guide. I don't know if I really need it, but it's one of those things where it's so fun to look at and look through, and you know the work was put in. So definitely go there and check that out.
Jason's working. Jason's working on his NCAA guide now. I actually know what the theme is. I don't know if I should spoil it or not, but a couple years ago he had the theme, the Nintendo theme, the Super Mario theme.
Yep.
He has a theme going for this one too. It's pretty cool. But this year I told him, because I was talking to him the other day, I said, I want to pay for a hard copy version this year. 'Cause every couple years, right? I get the digital one, but every couple years I'd like to ask him if I could buy the hard copy, because it's fun to flip through,
Yeah, I don't know. Let me see. This might not be needed. But I wonder
if a couple years ago, probably like 2 years ago, I started helping him, like giving him all the big board rankings and stuff, just as another supplement. It's another great feature in the NCAA guide. So, guys, this year when you're out there prepping for, getting all excited about the NCAA tournament, get Jason Bryant's
I'll
NCAA
put the link.
Guide. There's a code too. If you use code BRAIN, you get a percentage off.
I'll link it up in the description here, because it's like matttalkonline.selfie.store. I'll put the link in the description, and then if Willie says he's got a code for your code BRAIN. But yeah, I always like supporting the people who are doing stuff in wrestling. I think that's very important. There's such minimal reward for it that for the 10, 20, 30 bucks, whatever it costs, like go get it, go enjoy it.
Dude, the amount of historical data that Jason has in there, I mean, it's a Bible. It's an NCAA Bible.
It is. It's crazy that it's funny. Jason has become one of those people that, like, it is by far not the most rewarding or lucrative job that he has. But the amount of stuff at this point, he can't quit. Like, if somebody says, like, hey, when was the last time somebody tweeted recently, like, a heavyweight did this, or that? And Jason Bryant, within seconds, like, tweets with a response. Like,
well, he's a historian. I mean, he's beyond a media guy. He's a historian. All right, enough fluffing up Jason Bryant. Enough of it. Jason Bryant.
Yeah, what are we doing? Yeah, he's sitting right now in his speakeasy listening to this, sipping a beer, saying, that's right, fellas, continue. Oh, no, we lost Willie. Jason must have cut the feed.
You lost me. You got me back.
I got you back. We got the wrong camera. You must have done a full reset.
No, I didn't. You still got audio?
I got audio. We can hear you. We're just looking up at you now.
I'm very pretty.
There we go.
Yeah, that's why the Husker sweatshirt. That's why that sweatshirt today. Snowy.
All right, let's talk some wrestling. All right, so Friday night, and by the way, I did so incredible on the betting side of things Friday night.
You might have to change the title of the show from. You might have to change the title of the show from Baschamania, from Bash in the Brain to By the Way. Because you say "by the way" about 100 times. Show.
By the way, it's funny because I always with Bashada, it's always I'll randomly say "so" and then just start saying something out of the blue. So now he started doing it. I'll get a text and he's like "so," comma, and then continue. And we had a lot of great action this weekend. A lot of great wrestling.
A lot. It was fun. Let's start off on Friday night. We'll start with the two big ones. Back-to-back doubleheader on the Big Ten Network. Penn State beat Ohio State 27-13, and right away there was some fireworks because Luke Lillidahl had a takedown, and then when he's underneath, and the announcers kind of called it like Macron's really tricky and good on top he gets cradles from anywhere, and he got a cradle and pinned Luke 358, which if Penn State was an overwhelming favorite, but it fired up the crowd. And if you thought, there might be some magic and maybe there was a way, couldn't have started off any better than that. Macron fall over Lillidahl. That's another one that you look in the in the context of Big Ten seeds, and it's something you're going to have to figure out because now Luke has 2 losses. He's lost to Peterson, he lost to McCrone, and going to be a bit of a shakeup there, seed wise. Braden Davis comes out, first time we've seen him in a while.
By the way, I will say too, did you happen to see my tweet about the Lilidol pin?
No.
That got taken out of context?
No.
So he gets the pin over Lilidol, and I tweeted him. And so the first thing I thought about was just, it's a Penn State fan. You don't like seeing that kind of stuff, but it is fun watching the home crowd go absolutely ballistic. And I tweeted, I'm like, man, I'm like having a throwback in my mind to Spencer Lee getting pinned at Oklahoma State in the duel. And I tweeted out that I'm like, it reminded me of that. And all of a sudden, here come the wrestling purist. Not even the same magnitude. And I was laughing with Ryan Holmes because Holmes was like, yeah, it's a bit different. Guys were more, Spencer Lee was a returning national champ. And, I get that. I'm like, but it was like one of those huge upsets, home crowd pins. But of course, the tweet gets taken right out of context. Like, I'm not saying it was the same magnitude, but it was like, nobody would have called that heading into the match.
It was like, it was a mini one, right? It's 125. You have a favorite, but
it
you
just
also
made me
have
think of that match.
a
Yeah,
guy that's capable, and the home team is the underdog. So yeah, it's not Spencer Lee, but it was a mini version of that, maybe.
Yeah.
Prior to this weekend, I had Lilidol as the 3, Caleb Smith as the 4 because of the head-to-head. But now Lilidol has 2 losses. So that potentially is a big decision because that would be the switch between Caleb Smith's probably the 3 now, which puts Lilidol on the side of Peterson or Ramos. So that's a huge, huge development. Provided Caleb Smith has Matt Ramos, so he could have 2 losses too. But because Lilidol's losses to a guy so far behind, I just think it's going to be 3 and 4 flipped. But that's again, I don't know if you guys get tired of me talking about the seeds that much. To me, it's the most interesting thing.
We're 3 weeks out from Big Tens. We're not that far away. It's like
3 weeks out and 1 weekend of competition. There's only 1 weekend left.
Yep.
But yeah. All right. So then Braden Davis comes out. We hadn't seen Braden Davis in a little bit. And he has a wild one with Nick Bouzakis. Where they're just flopping back and forth. And I mean, the discussion here is there were near fall there. I mean, there was clear near fall. The ref swiped and held them down and then went and reviewed and said, nah, I didn't get it. I didn't get it at all. The good news is regardless of the calls, Braden Davis, I thought looked good. Nick Bouzakis, I thought looked good. And I put out a tweet, and not everything comes through on Twitter, obviously, but I said Nick Bouzakis, there's no wrestler in the country that has the fans across the country, in every fans of any team, Bouzakis has the most off perception, and the perception is he's not good. He's a bust. He's what Nick Bouzakis is good. He has massive wins. I don't like, even back when Iowa was wrestling, Ohio State were going to wrestle, and it was like Drake. And now the match didn't materialize, but on the message boards and everywhere, not just Iowa fans, everybody was like Drake next topic. And yeah, the pick is Drake, but if you think Bouzakis isn't right in that mix, listen, Bouzakis beat Tyler Knox multiple times. Tyler Knox is Drake's only loss this year. So I don't know. That just sticks in my craw. Like I never seen a whole country think something about a guy that's just off.
I will say too, I tweeted it this weekend because Baschamania was talking about Ohio State and what Tom Ryan's done with this group. And it's like, it is incredibly impressive when you look at this lineup and not a single portal guy in there. And it's like, man, what they've done. They're one of the highest ranked teams. And depending on where you look, like I think if you look at Intermat's or if you look at Wrestle stats like algorithm rankings, they have Ohio State. They're the highest team there without a transfer. So it is that this squad is impressive, really from top to bottom. They have a lot of guys that can impress.
Well, and two things. It's homegrown, right? They don't have transfers. And I tweeted about it last year ad nauseum to the point where people are probably like, yeah, we get it. Shut up. They're so young.
Mm-hmm.
They were so young. They started their whole back half last year were freshmen, right? These guys are still young. And for Ohio State to be as good as they are and to do what they're doing in it, right, with everybody else getting pickups here and there, and they're so young, and to top it off, they've had extraordinary bad luck with injuries.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I will say too, some people were saying, by the way, some people were saying too, like, you know, for Ohio State who has financial resources, why don't they go after people? It's not per se that they haven't gone after anybody. It's just they haven't necessarily really outbid everybody, and they haven't really secured any transfers, nor do they really have a huge hole where they need someone bad enough to really go and look in the portal. Because some people I saw commenting like, you know, why don't they go after a transfer too? Well, it's not to say they haven't gone after one. They haven't landed one. And again, they also have a pretty solid lineup top to bottom.
I think you could do a ready for the long. I didn't expect to get in on this topic, but here's where I sit. I think Ohio State is in a really unique position where you never know what they're offering guys, right?
Yep.
You never know what they're offering guys. But to my knowledge, they haven't gone hard at anybody in the portal.
Yep.
You're right that they don't have a glaring hole.
Yeah.
I mean, how much are you going to improve a guy? And if you are going to improve a position, it's going to come at the expense. Listen, they're one of the best recruiting teams in the country. So if you're going to go after a Kyle Parko, all you're going to do is piss off. It's not that big of an upgrade because you have a really promising prospect with 4 years of eligibility left, right? And so I think Ohio State's in a really unique position where they do have some resources, but they're doing it smart and they're doing it right. And am I saying that Ohio State isn't offering bags? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they have the resources, but they're doing it wisely.
Mm-hmm.
And from my knowledge, I don't know for sure, but from my knowledge, it seems to be that they're going after prospects. They're not going after portal, which I like, which I love, actually. And yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to get to a point. I was talking to somebody about this last night, a Division I coach. And there's so much stuff. If any of this stuff gets legislated, some of these 2026 deals might blow up. And if it doesn't, there's still a lot of changes that could happen to NIL to make the landscape a little bit different than what we're seeing now. What we're seeing now is you can just pay anybody whatever you want. So, and I know that Tom Ryan is incredibly conscientious about the team harmony and like, oh, this guy's getting $3 and I'm getting $2, but I'm pretty much as good as him, so give me $3.
Yep.
I know that's a big thing at Ohio State. And not to say that there's discord, but to say that Tom Ryan wants to be preventative of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Agreed.
All right, so Davis wins. That's a good one for him. And
I thought it was all heart there, those final 30 seconds when I'm like, oh, don't get taken down. And he did what he had to do to win the match in the end there. Didn't give up any points late. I thought that was all heart there.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing Braden's always going to give you is toughness. But it was big in terms of, again, seating opportunities for Davis. And also, to stem the turn the tide a little bit, because if not, it's 9-0. But now it's 6-3. Big 3 points there from Braden Davis. Bo Bartlett then goes out, and then, if Buzakis gets those near fall, if Buzakis wins that match, it's 9-0, and then you have Mendez Bartlett, right? So it could be 12-0. But now it's 6-3, and now Bartlett kind of does some crafty stuff in the first period. Mendez's offense, Bartlett slips out of it. Bartlett over Mendez, huge in and of itself. The matches are always close, but it's gone to Mendez the past couple times, including the big one in the NCAA finals. But Bartlett gets this one. He's going to be number 1 or number 2 in the country, and he's going to be the number 1 seed at Big Tens, putting Mendez on the other side.
Yeah.
And let's see. Mendez on the other side, that would be Hardy. That would be Hardy. What'd you make of the match?
We kind of said it going in. Like, you got to favor Mendez, given that he won the last 2. But I had said on the show, Bo Bartlett's kind of like the Buffalo Bills here, with Mendez being the Chiefs. Bo gets it done in the regular season, and then Mendez wins in the postseason. The last 3 matches before this, I think now, the last 4 are all 1 takedown matches, and the NCAA finals was literally a Granby at the end to decide it. So it's
one
right there.
One of the great moves of all time, really.
So it's like, Bo and Jesse are just both so good. It's turned out to be an incredible rivalry. I thought Bo looked awesome. I really did. I thought I think you mentioned it last week, that it's like, Bo doesn't go out there often and win matches that severely impress you, but man, he goes out, he lets it fly, he gets it done, and he might not put up a lot of points often, but he goes out there, and that was his best win of the season for sure.
Right. He can beat Jesse Mendez 4-1, but he'll also beat Danny Pacino 4-1. You know what I mean?
It's gonna be. I think
what I thought was interesting in the match too, Bartlett. It was the first period, correct? Bartlett got the first takedown early, and so that, unlike some other matches where it's nip and tuck at the end and somebody has to get one, this was a situation where Bo had the lead with 5 minutes to go, and Jesse didn't. Jesse knew the assignment and didn't get it. And, Jesse didn't look his best version. He didn't look his best version the match before against Von Bauer. And not to say that 6-5 win over Von Bauer is a bad thing, but you never know where guys are in their cycle. And so maybe, this is not a thing where you okay, Bo's the guy now. Bo is a lock for the title, right? I'm definitely picking Bo.
I think it's, Bo will be my pick now that he won. I feel like in this rivalry, it's tend to be whoever the most recent guy who wins is usually my pick. But this is going to be really interesting, because if Bo wins again at Big Tens, let's say he beats him in the finals, I think you got to give him the 1 seed at NCAAs. And then it's going to be Alira's Mendez, the 2-3. It's a heck of a lot better of a path when you have, two returning national champs in the bottom, potentially, and then you're sitting up top. Let the 2 returning national champs potentially meet in the semis and face the winner. Now, if you beat, it's well-earned if you beat a returning champ 2 times, and that's why you're up top. But there's a lot of incentive in that.
Yeah, it's a history. I don't want to be over enthusiastic or overstating this, but it's a history changing win, right? A history changing result, because we went from thinking it's going to be Mendez up top.
Yep.
And Bartlett and Alira's down below, to now 2 returning champs in the bottom half, which rarely happens.
Yeah.
Now, that is to say
Well, I think
that
we did see it last
that's
year.
the scenario if Bo wins at Big Tens. That's clearly
Correct.
to be determined. However, it is fun to think about. Now, right now, here's your options when the rankings come out. It's probably going to be Bo, right? This season, Bo has the best win, so I would put Bo 1. Now there are other rankers. I guess there is a case to be made to put Alira as 1.
No, there is not a case.
I don't think so either, but that might be an option. People might think of an option. That's an option. I wouldn't do it. I'd have Bo 1. He's having the best. He has the best win. He's undefeated. Yada yada yada. So I'd have Bo 1 here. So there's a question at 1, maybe. There's also a question at 2. Who's the 2? Is it Lirez or Mendez?
For me, and I'm not a ranker, so I'm not saying this is what it should be, but I think right now it's Bo 1. He clearly has the win over Mendez, and he's undefeated. I put Mendez the 2, and I put Alira as the 3. And I do that because Alira's only has 11 matches. 11.
And
So he's only one of, I think, the only other guy in like Wrestle Stats top 20 based on like formulas. He's only the second guy in the top 20 that doesn't have 12 matches.
well, more concerning too, I think. More of a rationale for him at 3 is not just the 11, but who the 11 are.
Correct, totally.
His best win is Josh Edmond.
Correct.
You know.
We're going to have fun with this topic when we get to 197.
Okay, I didn't think about that, but all right. So Bartlett Mendez,
Not for this
huge,
duel, just in general, because Ferrari shouldn't even be in the top
duel.
5.
Bartlett Mendez, huge for the duel, huge for future of the rankings, huge for seeding. Shane Van Ness over Dylan D'Amelio 4-2. I thought D'Amelio competed really well.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Cannon comes out and beats Joe Seeley. No Ty Kasich. I thought Cannon looked good. I thought that Seeley moved Cannon around pretty well for, Seeley's first time in action and just a freshman. I thought he showed signs of being a legit Division I guy on his feet. Now, he did struggle horribly on bottom. So that's something that has to get worked out. Mesenbrink, Tex Herman, Levi over Karchla in a thrilling match. I mean, Karchla looked awesome. Karchla was the threat to Levi that I thought he might be. And then Levi just nerves of steel. Like,
Just
he
gets
knows
it done.
his assignment.
Yeah.
He knows his assignment. He has to go get one late, and he does it. Great job by Levi.
Yep.
Carter, Tex, Rogotsky, Barr over Shoemate by Tech. Another win by Barr where he just racks up points late. And it was Feldman over Marisola 10-3. Marisola in there for Kirkley. And, we'll get to it again later, I guess. But why not do it now? There's a lot of Penn State fans were in my DM saying, do you think Marisola, Kirkley graduates, do you think Marisola is the guy of the future? I mean, can he hold it down? Can he carry the torch? What do you think about that, Justin?
Well, I think a couple things. One is I think there's an overreaction to a guy like Seeley going out and losing when we've seen that where Carter loses to Donnell Washington, Chenzo loses, Mark Hall loses. Like these guys, you can't really judge their future or their potential based on, for Joe Seeley, that was his first collegiate match. For Marisola, that was his first dual match. I think Marisola looked a little small. I think knowing he's not the guy at heavyweight this year, he's a little undersized, and I think he'll put on more weight for next year. So both Marisolas are very good wrestlers. I don't think this weekend was an indicator of being like, oh, Penn State should be nervous, because I think it's an overreaction. And I
Absolutely.
think especially for Marisola, I think knowing that he's not going until next year, I think we see him put on weight in the offseason, and that matters drastically when you see a match like him and Feldman,
Yeah,
and
I
you
agree
can
on
see
both
how
points. I
undersized
don't.
he is.
I don't think you look at Sealy and write him off and say he's not going to be what we thought he was, and yada yada yada. It's his first go. Um, we'll see. And you see freshman Penn Staters jump levels all the time. Same thing with Marisola. I don't know. I mean, it's a fair question. I don't know that Cole Marisola is the answer for the next 4 years at Penn State at heavyweight. However, I know it's way too early to write him off. He massively undersized, at least coming into college, and still appears a little undersized now. And who knows? It's a great
And
upperweight.
not for nothing, those are ranked 9th and 10th in the country. So how do you judge a guy in his first dual meet? He wrestled 2 matches this weekend. One was against the 9th best guy in the country, and one was against the 10th best guy in the country. And he held both to a decision, 10-3 and 4-0. I don't think that's like, get nervous.
It is, it is a question. Penn State's heavyweight of the future is a question, and it's something I've been talking about for 3 years.
I thought, to be honest, when you said, by the way, to be honest, I thought you were going to say that people were asking you if we see the Marisolas transfer out. Because I've had a couple of Penn State fans ask that, where it's like, between, the lineup and then could we see him? Like, I don't think the Marisolas are going anywhere. Maybe that's ignorance,
it's definitely going to be, there's definitely has to be a sacrifice by them, but I also think they fit in. I know their personality. I know their father. I think they fit into the culture so well there. Would it make sense for them to transfer out in certain aspects? Yes, but especially in light of, like, let's say Josh Bard wasn't good. Let's say Josh Bard didn't pan out.
Hey, you didn't tweet that this weekend. You okay?
And then Josh Bard stinks. But let's say Josh Bard didn't emerge as the guy he is. Then you can envision Marisola's going back to back at 97 heavyweight. Anything short of Josh dropping to 84, which doesn't seem likely. I guess there's a scenario where Connor could make 84. But anyway, there's clearly a scenario where only one of them can start, right? And so that immediately makes you ask, would it be beneficial for them to go somewhere else? Yeah, right. But we see that all over the place in every different program. And I don't know. I don't think they transfer out.
I don't either.
Good reasons? Yeah, there's probably good reasons, but I don't think that happens.
No, I agree with you.
Iowa, Minnesota. Iowa 23, Minnesota 11. And, the path for Minnesota, and we were all talking about it, there is a path. There was clearly a path for Minnesota to win this dual meet. However, that got squashed in match 1 because Joey Cruz beats Cooper Flynn 7-4 in OT. And credit Cooper Flynn for going and getting one late to push it to OT. In fact, he thought it was over. He thought he won the match. But it was in fact tied. They go to overtime. Cruz gets the win 7-4. And that made any designs of a Minnesota upset very, very unlikely. Another great win. Cruz is on the right trajectory. Ayala over Tyler Wells, 9-5. Von Bauer beat Schriever. That was one of those weird matches. Like, the 3-point takedown really showed its value there, because Von Bauer at one point, like, I love those matches where there's a 3-point takedown and it's like, ooh, Schriever could come back and win this match. Oh, Jameson is almost at bonus. So it was like both those scenarios. Very fun match. Von Bauer 14-10. Kyle Parko Kind of cruised to a 5-0 victory over Drew Roberts. Teamer and Askey was a 4-1. Teamer got a sort of a blast double takedown late. And I thought it was really interesting. I mean, Teamer was sort of on ice skates. I mean, back up, back up, back up, back up. And he didn't get hit at all. I don't think he got hit one time. And then, boom, pops you. And wins the match 4-1.
It reminded me of the Sammy Sasso match where people, were tweeting like he's stalling. And still, he got it done late, got the takedown when it mattered. And listen, if you want to get mad with the refs about not hitting him for stalling, I understand where you're coming from. At the same time, he did it again where he got it done late, and I thought it was a good win for him.
Yeah, and you can't get mad at Teamer. You have to get mad at the refs. If he thought he was stalling, you can't say he should have gave up a point, because if the ref hits him with one, then he adjusts. But that issue was never forced. Teamer over Askey 4-1 makes him 4-2 on the year. And he didn't go against Northwestern. So I think that's a situation where obviously I was like, yeah, we're gonna go into the postseason, and he's not gonna have an automatic qualification, and we're gonna steal it. Right? They're not worried about a seed at Big Tens, is what I'm saying.
You can tell too that like he's still between the stalling in the gas tank, between him being, them dealing with load management with him and wrestling Friday, not Sunday. It's very clear he's still working his way back. We talked about after his return when I think it was a Sasso match, and he's like, I haven't done live till now. We both don't think that's true, but you can definitely tell that he's still working his way back.
Yeah. But a very good win nonetheless. All
Speaking
things
of
considered,
good wins,
Tommy Askey is great. Caliendo rolled up the points on Andrew Sparks. I mean, I've been glowing about Michael Caliendo, but even I did not see. This was a 1-point match at Soldier Salute, and Caliendo looked fantastic. Fantastic. 21-5 tech fall. 174, it's Patrick Kennedy. Gets the win 8-4 over real quality opponent in Clayton Whiting. And then Nelson goes on Sunday. So we'll see. That's a big win for Kennedy in the seeds and stuff. Let me check. I mean, the way it stands, that would have solidified the 4 seed for Kennedy. If it is Kennedy, he's going to be the 4. Levi, Karchla, Pinto, carved in stone with Levi's win over Karchla, Pinto's win over Kennedy, and Whiting. Pinto gets a 3. But if indeed it is Nelson Brands, then he goes in there unseeded because he doesn't have the matches. Max McNally over Gabe Arnold 4-1 late takedown or sudden victory takedown. Again, it was kind of, Gabe got all the talent in the world, and he's elite defensively, but wasn't really close to a score. Didn't put a whole lot of attacks together.
It's crazy though too that was his 4th OT match in a row.
Yeah. I mean, that's who he is right now, at least at 84. And we said it time and time again, it's going to be interesting what they do this year, what they do this year at 74-84 and what they do next year at 74-84. It's a problem that's not going away, a good problem. 197, Stephen Buchanan over Isaiah Salazar 4-1, and Gable Stevenson with a first period tech over Ben Keeter. Gable looked amazing.
That was, for me, one of Gable's best matches of the year. Just putting him 19 against a quality guy like Ben Keeter in the first period is just... Gable seems to be getting into more and more into his own.
And I think indicative of the intent and passion and what gets Gable his juices flowing at home, senior, Iowa, right? He went to put on a show, and he
He
went to
and he
put an
did.
exclamation.
He loves the crowd, and every single time Minnesota's on the Big Ten Network, every time they're showing Gable in the line of kids getting his autograph. He feeds off the
Yeah,
crowd. This is a guy who wanted to go WWE, didn't really work out, but like he loves that. So I agree. And I thought, he's had some great wins where like I think majoring Nick Feldman was good, pinning Slavakuski was good. Like some of those, I think this was just his. He pinned
yeah,
Heinzelman in the first period, but this for me was I think his best win yet.
yeah, yeah. Entertaining too.
It's so
All
funny
right.
too, where it's like you watch Messenbrink go out there and get attacked, and you're like Messenbrink for Hodge. Then you see Starachi go out and tech Ryder Rogotsky, Starachi for Hodge. Then you go out and see Gable, and he texts Keeter in the first period, Gable for Hodge. It's like,
Yeah,
man, the argument for those three is just, it's going to be interesting to play out.
yeah, yeah. And I think it doesn't. I get no joy in saying this, but I think a Hodge contender was eliminated this weekend in Mendez, right? I mean, he was clearly in the picture.
Yeah, I think you have those three that are leading the pack, and then I think you have. So I think it's those three out front, and then I think those guys like that are like Penn State fans sometimes get mad when I say I think Gable's the favorite. They're like, "What about Kirk?" Listen, I got news for you. If Kirk continues to do what he does and he beats Gable, he
Yeah,
he he goes out. So same with Parker Keckheisen. If Parker does what he's doing all year and beats Carter, like you gotta pick the favorites. That's why it's Starachi. That's why it's Gable. I think those
yeah.
guys have to be the favorite. But
What about Kirk?
absolutely
What about Kirk comes with a huge like asterisk. He has to beat Gable.
correct. And same with Parker. Parker has to beat Carter. I said the same thing last year. I said if Parker could beat Carter last year, give him the Hodge.
All right, the rest of Friday, Citadel over Campbell. And I put this in here. Citadel over Campbell. I mean, Campbell's been a really good team, and Citadel, Campbell's not Iowa, but they've been really good. And Citadel beat them 7 matches to 3. That's really notable to me. Good job by Citadel. Northern Illinois beat Cal Poly, and Markel Baker beat one of this year's biggest surprises in Zeth Romney.
Who lost
Um,
twice this weekend.
Lost twice this weekend. So a lot of people, including me, saying high placement for Zeth Romney. I have him high in Crystal Ball, like second or third or fourth or something like that. And I do believe that Zeth Romney is that good. I do believe he has the ability to be that high. But this weekend showed you, and nothing's given, and he's not a lock for it. So Markel Baker over Zeth Romney 7-6. Purdue beat Maryland 23-14. Ramos won. His only match left is Caleb Smith. And he would lock in the 1 seed. Braxton Brown won. Joey Blaze over Kevin Shork, which means that Ethan Miller did not wrestle, and that sort of caused a little stir on Twitter because Ethan Miller's sitting out, probably locked in his one. Now, if Ethan Miller would have wrestled and beat Joey Blaze, who he beat earlier this year, then Ethan Miller would have been your one, no doubt. He didn't wrestle, so it probably means he's your one, but the coaches could say, we don't like that. We're docking him. We're still going to put, now we're going to put Kasek one. Before, it would have been Miller Kasek, but you didn't come out for Blaze, so now we're going to have Kasek one. I don't know if they will do that, but it makes it more of a scenario than if Ethan would have wrestled and won.
Yeah. And I'll say this too, because,
I don't. And listen, I'm not saying that's what they should do. I'm not saying that's what they should do. So before people, Maryland fans say, "Well, you're advocating for this," I'm not advocating for this. I'm saying it's a scenario.
yeah. I mean, I guess I'll say this too, because as soon as I tweeted out that you were right and Ethan Miller didn't wrestle, and instantly you get a lot of now do Penn State, now do Kirk. And it's like, guys, there is a very clear context difference between somebody having the flu and not being able to go and somebody like Willie sitting on the sideline saying, based on everything that happened, I highly doubt that Miller, quote unquote, puts his seat on the line and wrestles this weekend. And then he doesn't wrestle. Hey, guess what? There is absolutely a snowball shot in hell that Miller was just sick this weekend. Like, sure, but you can't pretend the context here doesn't matter. And yes, not everybody who doesn't go is ducking somebody, but at the same time, when the writing's on the wall, you can at least acknowledge it's a likely foregone conclusion.
If you think for 1 second Kirk Fleet didn't go because he's protecting a seed, go have your brains examined.
Yeah, so that's had to acknowledge that because there was the now do Penn State. Oh, the Penn State homer won't admit Kirk is ducking Feldman. Stop. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like Drake wasn't protecting a seed because he didn't wrestle Buchanan. Teamer wasn't protecting a seed because he didn't wrestle Max Mayfield or whatever, right? Like, stop. Kirk wasn't protecting a seed. I mean, at this point, he's going to be the 2. What was he protecting? He was protecting the 2? Now, if he would have lost to Feldman, he would have been a 3? That's what he was protecting? Stop. Ryder over Edinburgh, Wyoming over Air Force, American over Bucknell. Good win for American. Bucknell's really solid team. Northern Colorado over Utah Valley by 1. Northwestern beat Wisconsin. North Carolina beat Virginia. Rutgers 28-7 over the Michigan State Spartans. I told you. Why is this interesting? Because the spread was 30.5, and I told you Michigan State was going to cover. And then people said, how do they cover? And I said, something will happen. Rutgers is not going to blank them with bonus. Something will happen. Michigan State will win a match.
You called that one.
And they did. They won at 197 with Remy Cotton over John Posnanski. Now, they also didn't have Yaz in Yara at 285. So they won there as well. But the 197 match won the spread. NC State over Stanford 27-13. Tyler Knox majored Kyle Reen with a really weird, not Spladle, but Spladle-like move. That was really interesting. Made the rounds on Twitter. Jaden Abbas over Biskins. Ed Scott over Valencia, who wrestled 157. 27-13 NC State over Stanford. Iowa State beat South Dakota State. Still no Terrakina. Taryn Jordan beat Ethan Perryman. Both Frost brothers win. Panera wins. Chittum over Seabrook 9-8. And then Seabrook later in the week, I think he got dinged up pretty good. So I hope he's okay. But some people are saying that, it looked serious. Devos over Gatan. Berge over Bachman. Iowa State by 5 over South Dakota State. Tech beat Pittsburgh in a match with a lot of good, Pittsburgh presents, especially in the front half, their first 3, some guys that are always going to be scrappy and always going to make it tough. But Tech sweep them. Ventresco over Babin. McGonigal over Chappell. Latona over Santaniello. Good win for Wolak, who's been struggling, over Augustine, who's been good. Another great win. I've been talking about him a lot. Max Stout over Andy Smith. That's a good win. Max Stout undefeated since mid-December.
November.
Mullen over Pittsburgh. Little Rock 25
he lost
over
to Michael Beard back in November 24th. Max Stout.
Yeah.
That was his last loss.
Max Stout looking sharp. Little Rock over Cal Poly. The big one here, Nasir Bailey over Zeth Romney, 8-2. So Romney goes 0-2 in the weekend. Chance Lamer also with a win over Jordan Williams. That was it for Friday. Saturday, short slate. Columbia over Harvard. North Dakota State over Cal Baptist. Cornell beat Arizona State 25-12. Still no Unger. Figs won. Emilio Izagari, who's been he's 3-5 coming in. And this is a guy 2 years ago beat Brock Hardy, and he's been not good. This is a good win for him. 9-2 over Josh Saunders, who's been really solid. So Figs over Milani, Clabo over Ferreira, who I like. So that's a good win for Julian, I think. It was a late takedown. Izagari over Saunders. I thought it's a very interesting win. No Meyer Shapiro. There was rumors. I got hit up that there might be something wrong with Meyer. I don't know that that's true, but he didn't wrestle this weekend. Julian wins. Simon Ruiz wins. Foca over Valencia 6-5. Delgado wins. Schultz wins. That's it for Saturday. Sunday, Stanford beat Duke. Ryder beat Clarion. Interesting match if you really drill down into outside podium contenders and think guys that might be dangerous in March that you don't see coming. TK Davis, who has a win this year over Shawver, beat Blake Borman 4-2, who has a win this year over Nasir. So a really interesting result from the SoCon there. App State over Davidson. Morgan State gets their second dual win over a D1 opponent in their history. 29-20 over Sacred Heart. Binghamton over Buffalo. Citadel over VMI. Michigan over Michigan State. 27-12. American beat George Mason by 2. Oklahoma State 32-6 over Arizona State. Figs beat Lorenzo. Moshe Schwartz beat Izagari 5-4. Wyoming 26-9 over Northern Colorado. The interesting one there was Jared Hill beating Zerbin in OT. Army beat Navy in America's Duel. I thought the big win there was Filipowicz at 65 over Dylan Elmore, kid out of Kansas I really like, 2-0. I thought that was key. And then they won at 97 in heavyweight. I mean, it was sort of a toss-up match at 97. And heavyweight, they won 1-0 with Stoddard, the junior world teamer. So 22-10 Army over Navy. Penn beat Princeton 31-7. Cross Wazlewski beat Ty Whalen 4-1 in overtime in a battle of two guys on my fantasy roster. Little Rock beat North Dakota State 21-16. Little Rock beat Bakersfield 41-6. Stephen Little received a forfeit from AJ Ferrari. AJ Ferrari also did not wrestle against North Dakota State.
Yeah, and that's what I was alluding to earlier, where it's like it's so frustrating. People are like, somebody was like, why is he even ranked in the top 5? And I said, I don't know, everyone put him there. But I do understand why. He's undefeated. In last presidency, he won an NCAA title. But, and somebody was like, hey, I think he beats Barr. He beats Buchanan. Listen, I'll be honest. His last win was against Buchanan, December of 2021. That is a long time ago. That is the last time he wrestled the top 10 guy. And we didn't see him at CKLV. We didn't see him this weekend. And it's like, man, if you're... It's very hard for me to think Ferrari's going to have a good postseason. I don't necessarily think he's ducking people to protect his seed. I do think there's some kind of lingering injury or something going on here. He's just not going to not wrestle these guys that could... I don't know. I don't think there's anything for him to lose by ducking these matches. But at the same time, it's like we do... Objectively, you can't reward guys for not wrestling a single top 10 match all season.
Well, I hated it when he didn't go to Vegas. And like now he's not hitting even the duels. But back in Vegas, you're like, okay, maybe he's working his way back. You give him a pass. But now it's like either there's something wrong or he's ducking. And I don't think he's ducking. Maybe he thinks it doesn't matter. I don't know. Whatever the case is, it makes it really hard to pick that bracket, right? What is AJ Ferrari going to do at NCAAs? Is he peaking? Has he lost a step? Is he dinged up because he's not wrestling all these matches? It makes it really hard to handicap that weight and to pick him where to pick him in the pecking order and where others go, because can a Josh Barr beat him? Can a Stephen Little beat him? But at the end of the day, what's going to happen with the seeds is you're going to strip away the names. He's not going to be AJ Ferrari. He's not going to be AJ Ferrari. He's going to be like 7-0, right? With wins against this guy, and this guy. And that's going to be his resume. The only thing that is AJ Ferrari in that is that everybody's going to have him ranked high. And so his national rank is going to be high, and it's going to be it's going to be inflated.
And here's too why it's like I don't think he should be in the top 5 is because, first of all, I think Buchanan, Barr, and Cardenas have seemingly separated themselves a bit. But at the same time I say that, you have Barr, Cardenas, Beard, Serber, all with just one loss. I would rather see those guys be ranked. Say Buchanan's the 1, Barr, Cardenas, Beard, Serber, and then Ferrari. Yes, I understand Ferrari's undefeated, but at the same time, his best win is one guy in the top 30, and Nick Stemmet, who he beat 5-0. So I understand the technicality of being undefeated late in the season, but at the same time, it's like, man, you're going to put Ferrari above Cardenas because Cardenas has one loss?
Right.
Or Beard
Cardenas
or Serber? Like,
I know.
So it's like, so it's like, I don't know. That's a lot of weight for what happened 4 years ago.
Yeah. And he only has Eli Sheeran and Tyler Hodges left on the schedule, and in the regular season schedule, and then Pac-12s, which present him with, I don't know, Little and Munoz maybe.
And it is like one of those things where it's like, because here's the next thing in this. Ferrari's undefeated, but he has a national championship from 4 years ago. And I feel like the commenters, at least one of them is going to say, okay, now do Andrew Alira's. And you're not necessarily wrong with that. Alira's won a title 2 years ago. I do think there's a difference between having 1 year off and 4 years off, or 3 years, whatever it was. I do think that's a huge difference. Alira's won, took a red shirt, and now he's undefeated. So now would you put Alira's behind Mendez and Bartlett? I would personally, but I'm not a ranker.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think, listen, win a national title, red shirt, come back, don't lose, is very different than win a national title, disappear for years.
Yeah.
Come back, wrestle nobody.
So that's why if it were me, I'm like, we got to reward the guys who are competing. And when you have Cardenas, whose only loss is to Barr, ranked 2 behind Ferrari, who has 1 win in the top 30, and it's Nick Stemmet. And again, you got Beard, Serber. These guys have 1 loss to put.
Well, and the other factor,
Beard's only losses to Barr too. So both Cardenas and Beard, who are the 4-5, have only lost to Barr.
Well, the other factor in that equation too is that when their conference, AJ's going to go to conference and wrestle one guy. He's going to wrestle Little or Munoz. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he could wrestle both, but I doubt it. Whereas Alirez is going to have to go through Happel and Jameson and Frost, right? He's going to hit guys that if he wins, legitimizes him as a top 5 guy.
Yeah.
Ferrari's not going to have that.
Right. Yeah.
Penn State 29-9 over Illinois. Lilladal with attack. Lucas Bird beats Braden Davis. Almost 3 takedowns. I thought the last one should have been a takedown, but Lucas Bird doing all his damage, like from front head, go behind stuff, and it worked great. Very impressive.
Where did
win
you
over
copy these results from?
I copied them from Intermat.
Intermat got them wrong. Luffman did not beat Kirk 4-0.
I know. I think.
I just saw that. I'm like, what?
I doubt that's an Intermat thing. That probably is. That probably is an SID thing. Anyway, Bird beats Davis. Bartlett beats Pacino 9-2. Van Ness over Webster 15-4. Looked really good there. Crazer beats Sealy 2-1. Although,
let's say asterisk. Beat Sealy asterisk.
Sealy had a takedown late on the edge, and they called it and then overturned it. Why? I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. But to me, that was a takedown. Mesenbrink majored skulls. Levi. So Mesenbrink, that is, he stays with 100% bonus rate. Is that right?
Correct. Somebody was asking, I don't know the answer. Did him and Scholes, are they both Academy Askren kids? They seemed like to kind of chop it up after, like they knew each other or something.
Yeah. I mean, they're very, yeah. Yep. Scholes is, I'm almost 100% sure Scholes was Askren. Haynes over Bronigal. Starachi tech DQ'd Ruth on stalling.
Tech DQ'd.
Josh Barr, 15-4 over Bronigal, and it was a little different than some recent Josh Barr matches where Josh Barr has, on several occasions against quality opponents like Zach Bronigal, go into the second period scoreless, go into the third period with one score maybe. Barr was scoring early in this one, 15-4 over Bronigal. Luffman over Marisola 4-0. Nebraska over Indiana 39-2, and I thought Nebraska looked really good for this reason. None of the results, and this is exactly why I said Rutgers would not cover over Michigan State, because it's hard to clean sweep. Something's going to go wrong. You're going to stub your toe somewhere. And I don't care that Michigan State is not a great lineup. They're still a Big Ten school with guys that have been through the fire this year, late in the season. You're gonna flub one. You're going to lose one that you thought you're going to have. And this Indiana team is really scrappy, and there's a lot of landmines. And, Jacob Van D has lost to Zan Fugit. And so Jacob Van D losing to Angelo Rini is a real possibility. Caleb Smith losing to Jacob Moran is a real possibility. Indiana is very quietly, they have tough guys in there, and it's hard to sweep, and Nebraska damn near did it. So I thought Caleb Smith beat Moran 2-0, Jacob Van D beating Rini. Hardy looked great against Henry Porter. Ridge love it.
Was the score actually 39-2, or is that a typo?
That's what it says. I assume
they
there
lost
was
a team point.
A team point in there somewhere. Antrell got headlocked down 5-0 real quick, and then came back and teched Garvik, Pennsylvania product, 27-11. Minto beat Lillard. Another, again, Lillard, tough guy to win. I think that's Minto's second or third win over him this year. Pinto over Rogotsky. Allred over Washington, 17-6. McDaniel beat Solar, 17-14. And then Jacob Bullock got Indiana in the win column with a 6-2 win over Harley. Northern Iowa, 26-10. Great environment. 26-10 over Iowa State.
Did you see Allison Schwab take a shot at Oklahoma State there?
Yes, but I don't know the full context. Is that like
Well, so here's what happened. So you and I set.
I can map what the.
So you and I set an attendance record yesterday. It was like 7,200 people or something, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And Allison Schwab quote tweeted that with "Can't wait for Oklahoma State to take credit for this."
Right.
And why I assume she said that is Oklahoma State put out a graphic last week that said something, I don't know, it's Oklahoma State propaganda, like it's just, marketing, said that Oklahoma State has had 3 road duels set new attendance records this year. And UNI was in there, I think. So, it's like, well, I understand the shot, but why can't we also give credit to Oklahoma State? That clearly contributed to it. It's not like...
Absolutely.
I thought it was a little unwarranted. I thought Oklahoma State is... I mean, look, this isn't just one they're taking credit for. 3.
I think, isn't it 4? Maybe not. Oh, Penn State last year. I was going to say new attendance record when they went to Corvallis, but I think Penn State was bigger last year. So it was a big crowd for Okie State at Corvallis, but I guess it wasn't the record. But big crowd, biggest crowd at Utah, biggest crowd at Little Rock, biggest crowd at Northern Iowa. I mean, I think there's value in that. I think there's value in saying, listen, when we travel, fans show up.
Right, and that I don't think that has to discredit the UNI crowd. Like, it doesn't discredit Little Rock crowd. Like, but it definitely is a part of the reason you're seeing this. If this is Oklahoma State last year, I don't know that the UNI audience.
That's why you credit Penn State for going to Corvallis. That's why you credit Penn State or credit Iowa for going to Corvallis. When Iowa goes to, Penn State went to Sacred Heart the other year. You can't praise teams for traveling and helping out the local community get fired up for wrestling, and also take shots at them. There's value there.
Yeah.
I think Allison probably did it a little tongue in cheek.
Oh, 100%. I don't think she's sitting here trying to, at least, I don't know. I assume she's not trying to start a war,
So great duel, though.
Electric duel.
Evan Frost, the environment was awesome. You could tell they were heated from match number 1. Evan Frost beats Farber 8-0. Happel beats Jacob Frost 10-7. Real Buto put the gas on Pinheiro. Pinheiro was obviously gassing at the end.
Schwab losing his mind because Dresser threw the brick was one of the funniest things I saw all weekend.
Oh, I love it. Listen, credit both of them. Credit Kevin for KD for trying to save his guy, and credit Schwab for calling it for what it was.
For context, for those not who maybe didn't see it, Pinheiro was very clearly gassed at the end of this match. And there was 5 seconds left in the match. And I think Dresser officially challenged the stall call, maybe. And so you can tell that it was basically to get Pinheiro a longer, and Schwab just loses his mind. Like, what?
Yeah.
I love it.
So and then Real Buto goes and gets a low single and wins 10-7. Huge at that juncture. Huge for the duel. Chittum, I was a little cautious. Chittum, I thought, looked fantastic in the first period. I thought and I'm reading body language here, right? And because the score was 0-0. But what he did in that first 3 minutes, I wanted to tweet it was like the best version of Chittum, but I didn't want to get egg on my face if it turned south. So I just text Bash and Fellers and Bashada. I'm like, this looks like a different Cody Chittum.
Yep.
And I said, if this can keep up for 7 minutes, this is a different Cody Chittum. And I thought a second period went well for him. He got out on Downey right away, and still the score there was no takedowns. And then we go to the third period, and it's going to be decided on our feet. And can Cody get one? If Cody gets one in the third, then this is the best match that Cody Chittum has wrestled in his college career. And he, in fact, does go and get it. And so 2 things. I thought that was the best version of Cody I've seen. I thought that in the first period, To me, Cody has wrestled a lot like I don't want to make a mistake. And in this
Mhm.
match, I thought he was aggressive enough to say, I don't give a shit. I'm going to win. And
Yeah.
that's the Cody I want to see. And so it was really good to see. And also, at the juncture in the duel, this made it 2 matches to 2. So it kept Iowa State in it. Unfortunately, that would be it, basically, for Iowa State. Jack Thompson beats Aiden Riggins. Jared Sima beats MJ Gatan. Keckeisen, Tex Helgeson. Volker, really good match against Evan Bachman. Herrera did beat Runyon 3-1. Is that accurate? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then Goldhofer beat Diverson. But awesome crowd. The big story here is, we all know Iowa State's had a bunch of injuries and stuff, and the crowd was awesome. The environment was awesome. 26-10. And it makes you, I'm not banging on Iowa, but it makes you yearn for Iowa, Northern Iowa. Those
I'd love
matchups
to
are
see
great.
that.
Iowa State, Northern Iowa. If we could get Iowa, Northern Iowa, that'd be cool. Especially in a year now. Look, especially in a year where Northern Iowa can make it interesting.
Right.
Uh, Iowa, speaking of, beat Northwestern 37-3. Cruz over Dedrick Navarro. It was Ybarra at 33. I can't believe Drake ducked Mason Odiati. That's a joke. Cullen Shriever was a winner. Kyle Parko beat Cartella. Cartella's tough. There's in this Northwestern lineup, there's a couple guys like Dedrick Navarro. I think is going to be good. He's from out here in Idaho. True freshman, wrestling 125, kind of thrown right in the fire and taking his lumps. But I think Dedrick Navarro, who's a bit of an undersized 25, especially as a true freshman, I think that he eventually emerges as a pretty tough out. Cartella, a freshman, loses to Parko 9-2, but he's another freshman. I think does good eventually, has bright days ahead of him. Chumbley beat Estrada 4-1 in OT. Caliendo beat Tech Max Mayfield. No, it was Nelson Brands in at 174. He teched Aiden Vandenbush. Gabe Arnold a winner over Halverson. Buchanan beat Bates. Keeter beat Dirk Morley, another freshman in that Northwestern lineup. And that, my friends, was your weekend.
Yeah, and I have a note here, so I guess we'll just talk about. I've kind of started doing what you do, where I think of something or I read something and I just put it in this doc to remember to talk about it. So I made a note because UWW put out ranking series entries for like 10 days from now. So going there, Real Woods is at 65. I think that's his first time competing freestyle post college. So
I'm really excited for Real Woods freestyle era. I don't know. I'm not under any delusion like he is going to be a world medalist threat, but he could be. I mean,
yeah. So Real Woods is in at 65. James Green, Will Luan, Yaya Thomas are in at 70. Quincy Monday going 74. David McFadden is returning. Him and Evan Wick will be going at 79. Mike Mock going 92. Kyle Snyder and Sedji Liev were both in the entries and are both not going. So
they're both not going?
Yeah, and then Demetrius Thomas and Jordan Wood at heavyweight. Yeah, so Snyder and Sedji Liev, so here's what happened. Entries come out, Snyder and Sedji Liev are both in there. Immediately I put a graphic together. This is awesome. And then instantly, no Sedji Liev. He's not going. And then Snyder is still in the entries, but Persian Sports kind of pointed out, made me think of it. Snyder is competing in a PWL event the night before in Kazakhstan. So yeah. I don't see Snyder competing in Kazakhstan on the 25th or 26th and then hopping over to Albania to compete in this on the 27th. So
I mean, it's been pretty publicized too, right?
Yeah, and Snyder even, I kind of went back because I'm like, maybe Snyder and the PWL event kind of fell apart. But if you go to Snyder's, Instagram, it's his like 3 most recent posts are all promoting this event. So yeah. I don't think we see Snyder despite him being in the entries. But that's that. Some ranking series updates.
There is, man. I am loaded with stuff to do. I have a state high school championships hub because I do them every year because if you're a college recruiter or you're a high school junkie or you love recruiting or you want to just follow the results, it's really hard to find 50 state championships, and especially with all the divisions. So every year I put a state hub together and I list all the dates and I link to all the brackets so you can go, boom, find whatever state you want and follow those results. And usually I do a brief summation from all the big states. And, I don't do them for small states and states without a lot of ranked guys, but I got to update all that. There was, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 state tournaments this weekend. So I have to do that. I have to do the Big 10 seeds, Big 12 seeds, post the high school team rankings. Big result in Jersey where St. Joe's beat Del Barton. That's all to say that I have not looked at what's coming up. I have a little bit of an idea. But what's this weekend?
Well, I'm pretty sure all conference play is over, so it's just a lot of cleanup duels. But the big one is Oklahoma State, Iowa.
Oklahoma State, Iowa, yeah. Yeah.
That's the big one.
Man, that's Iowa. I'd really like to be at that, but I'll probably just wait. With all this high school stuff going on, I got to buckle in and get that done. So
we will definitely be previewing that one.
I still got to go to I got to decide, man. Big Ten is the cat's meow, but I don't know if I want to go there or go to Big 12s. I've never been to Big 12s ever.
My whole qualm about going to any of them is that you miss the rest of the action.
I know, and I like
if you go to Big 12s, you'll miss everything that happens at Big 10s.
Mm-hmm. I typically like to. That's why I don't go to conferences a lot, because I like to stay back in a central location, view it all, and then work on who got in, who didn't, who needs to steal bids, this and that. What the field is. And that's really tough to do when you're sitting on press row at Big Tens, right? So I don't know, man. I don't know what I want to do. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I'm
but we're definitely gonna do a show. Why don't we shoot for a show and we'll talk a little bit about Big 10, Big 12 seeds. Maybe we'll talk about the article where the best non-big boarders of the year of the decade, and then we'll do our weekend rundown.
Preview.
Preview.
Yeah, Iowa, Oklahoma State. All right, that's a show. I'm going to get some final hours of sun before we head back to the tundra.
You're going to get stuck. You're going to get stuck in Florida. Go Bills.
Be good. Do good. Go Bills. God bless.